How's that? Do you enjoy it? You should be glowing right now. It's like, yeah, man, I'm just going to think about happy people all the time. It's great. The reason we spend more time focusing on the inner smile than the full technique is because this is what drives the whole thing. If you can get the inner smile right, honestly, these two things will probably happen by accident, by default, if you get this part right, right? Even if it doesn't happen by default, it'll be so natural to do these things that it'll be, again, part of the natural interaction rather than a forced interaction to have these things. So it's important to, I really would encourage you to focus on this, and these things will come through. Does that make sense? So when you go to lunch in a few moments' time, I'll come to you in a minute if I may, we'll go to lunch in a few moments' time, really focus on this and see if, like, how natural the eyebrow lift comes for you, how the eyebrow flash, right? If your eyebrow flash is natural, you've got this right. If it feels awkward to you, chances are you've let go of this at some point. Does that make sense to you guys as well? Right? So this is a good litmus test for you guys. And then it's just a question of practice. Just put yourself through that routine, and actually it'll make you a happier person anyways. Think about it. If you spend most of your days thinking about people you really like versus all the stuff that pisses you off, right? Where attention flows, energy goes. Which are you going to do, right? So you had a quick question or comment? Do you want to come up here?
Actually, a really quick question. Inner smile, isn't that the same as H+, or is there a difference?
Yes, it is. It's just another way of looking at the H+ thing, right? The H+ is slightly tweaked in the sense that I really want you to have a positive experience, and it's going to be hypnotic. So that's the spin, shall we say, onto it. But think of it this way. It's the same creature with a different mood. Okay?
Okay. Yes.
Now, one of you just reminded me that there's one little group of people we haven't talked about yet, the oblivious ones. How do we force enough attention so we can get our greeting signal out to them? Will that be interesting to know? Yes. Now, the answer is really, it depends on the kind of context that you're in. Are you in a larger social context? Are you in a small social context? What kind of tools are available to you, and so on? The two main things that you can focus on, and we won't really have time to practice if that's okay with you. I'll just tell you about it, and then you can play with it as you wish to. It's not really part of the program here, but you may as well have it, right? The first one is if you're in a social context where there's more, a larger group of people, for example, say golf club or a nightclub or a bar, a party like a cocktail party, something like that. The way to get their attention is very simple: is by getting the rest of the room to put attention to you, and then it'll naturally draw their attention. It's kind of like, have you ever done this when you were kids? You go out in the middle of a really busy street, and you're all standing there looking up and like, right? And then people walk past and they'll go. Eyes have a very strong effect on people. Anyone here write sales letters and copy letters or adverts in the paper, something like that? We'd like to have a way that will increase the likelihood that your letter will be read, right? If this is your advert or your letter, put in the top corner a pair of eyes that are looking down at your text. You might even put a smile or a nose or like a little funky device, something like that here. But if the eyes are angled to look at the text, it naturally draws attention towards it. We respond very powerfully to eyes, right? So if you can get the attention of everyone else in the room on you, then people's attention will naturally turn towards you. Now, you can do that through some antics, like a magic trick or whatever it is, like a magic moment, that draws attention. When we teach walk-up street hypnosis, for example, the people who are too shy to go up to strangers and ask them if they want to do hypnosis, one of the simple tricks for doing that, using this principle, is you do it with a friend. Like, say, Tim and I are going out, when we do some street hypnosis, I'm too afraid to talk to everyone else. I'll say, okay, Tim, let's go through some street hypnosis stuff. As soon as I do that with him, it's unusual. Everyone's eyes get drawn onto me. Here I can throw in my eyebrow flash and say, come in, watch this, be friendly, and so on. We've already engaged the whole process. Does that make sense? Another way you can do exactly the same thing is by being just a social, friendly person. Let's say that at a party, you're the one that everyone knows. And how do you do that? Well, you go up and you eyebrow flash them all because they're the ones that are already open, right? You go to all the open people, you do your little eyebrow flash, your hypnotic rapport, whole process. They think you're an amazing person, even though they've only spoken to you for about 2 seconds, going, that's good to see you again, man, that's very nice, I'll see you in a bit. And I go, who the hell was that? I don't know. And of course, Then they'll start following you around the room, but he knows everyone here, right? Because you're going off and you're meeting everyone else, and like, God, I must have met it someplace. That's because that is part of the context that you're creating, isn't it? So eventually, it's just a matter of time that whatever group of people that are oblivious to you will notice, because there's an energy that will follow you as attention follows you through the room. And then at some point, all they have to do is see attention gravitating somewhere, and they'll naturally do this. Oh. And at that point, as long as you're aware of them at that point, you can engage in the full signal, because now they're open. Does that make sense? The final version is a little bit sneaky. Do you want it? Sure. It's kind of sneaky, though, I warn you, right? Can I borrow you for this, Yuichi? And this is for particularly for strangers and so on. Let's say, again, you're in a public space and this person's totally oblivious to you. You can force a rapport ping from this person, right? Yeah, you can rob them, for example. So you can what? Throttle them. Yeah, that's close. Violence helps. No. It's to do with our social distance. This works better in an environment where space is okay, in a tube or a metro. It can still work, but you have to basically understand what the social space divide around you happens to be. Right now, I'm outside of his social space, right? So let's imagine you're just like watching some artwork and things like that. Excellent. Now, watch what happens when I come close enough. Did you see what happened just then? Even though he's trying to ignore me, what happened was this. As soon as I stepped inside his private space bubble, his eyes shifted for a moment and looked back again, right? He has to shift because he's basically sensing someone's just invading my space. Is this a threat? Is there something I've got to do about? He instantly gets alerted and pays attention. As soon as he pays attention, he goes into the open category. Now I can do the whole eyebrow flash. Still, he's a little hesitant, but as he's doing that, as soon as he looks towards me, I can almost look like, oh, he's engaging me, and I'll go, oh, hey. Do you see how that works? So you're actually forcing him to engage in greeting behavior with you. He'll look to make sure that, if you have a look, he's trying to resist now. He'll look to make sure, he looks like to make sure you're not a threat, and I go, right? Because he engaged me at this point. Do you see how that works? It is very sneaky, but it's kind of fun. Thank you. Give him a round of applause. Do you like that? Is that kind of fun? So again, notice how we're working the same levels as the hypnotic principles that we started playing with yesterday, and how on the surface level, yeah, everyone goes, yeah, sure, the idea of matching and mirroring, that makes sense, or the idea of non-verbal communication, that makes sense. But there are just so much more layers to this. There's a lot of depth to everything that we do. As soon as there's a human being involved, there is like a huge amount of depth that's you're capable of reaching, even with simple devices. And then all these little cool techniques like the rapport ping force, or the group rapport thing that we talked about, and all these things, they're just an extension of a very simple principle. And the simple principle is this: we're all mammals, we all belong to a group, and whenever someone else comes along, we've got to decide, are they with us or are they with them? Right? And our unconscious mind will send signals out to test, to find out. If you pass the test, then they're with us. If you do not, then you're with them. Being with them is not a bad thing, right? It doesn't mean that we're going to be hostile or anything like that. But you're just not one of us. And when you want to develop hypnotic rapport, you really want to be one of us. So that's the idea I'm going to leave you with as we go off to lunch. I can imagine that there'll be some fascinating stories coming back after lunch. Can you not? All right, guys. If you enjoyed this morning, yes? Thank you very much. I think you'll enjoy this afternoon even more. So it's now just past 12:15. We'll be starting again at 1:45 on the dot. Please try and be here a little early, like say 1:30. We will start at 1:45 on the dot. Thank you very much.